And joining us now is Ontario's Privacy Commissioner. There's Ann Cavoukian. Welcome back to TVO.
Pleasure, Steve.
Lovely to see you again. We've had a number of people who head up agencies, boards, and commissions sit in that chair to come in and kind of explain more about what it is that you do. So let's just start there. What does the Privacy Commissioner do?
Well, I'm actually the Information and Privacy Commissioner, so I enforce compliance with the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. What does that mean? Quite simply, you have a right to privacy in this province, which means that personal information about you that is held by our government should be strongly protected and only used for the purposes that you know about. So I ensure that government agencies use information that they have about you in the proper way. Think about your health records. OHIP is a provincially funded agency. So all your health information. We also have PHIPA, the Personal Health Information Protection Act in this province. So your health information is very strongly protected. But if you have a complaint, if you think there's something that's amiss, you can file a complaint with my office.
So we can come to you, like you go to the Ombudsman if you think something's amiss.
Exactly. Okay. You come to me, you file a complaint. I'm an independent officer of the legislature. What that means is I don't report to the government of the day. So if you have a complaint with a government agency, you can file the investigation request with me without concern that I work for the government. I'm independent of government.
So what's the kind of thing somebody would bring forward to your office, for example?
Well, think of health information that you are concerned about. You fear that it's gone to the wrong place. It's gone to your employer, contrary to what it should be. Of course, health information will be strongly protected. You're afraid that it's been disclosed in an unauthorized manner. So you come to me, you file a complaint, we investigate. On the Freedom of Information side, that's the flip side of the act. That side relates to your right of access to government-held records. Mm-hmm. So you have a right of access to how's the government running their business, because this is all about you.
On the former one, if you investigate and if you have in fact found that somehow my privacy rights were violated, do you have the ability to punish the government, or what are my options at that point?
Let me give you an example. Under PHIPA, the Personal Health Information Protection Act, we have order-making power, which means that I can order either a government agency or a private sector organization, a lab, a testing facility, to stop doing whatever we have found them in breach of the act. Stop collecting personal information, stop using it in an unauthorized manner, stop disclosing it contrary to what the act says. So we have very strong powers under the act.
Are you also able, if for example the government wants to pass a new law, does it automatically sort of go through your office first to see what it does do that?
Yes, we have the opportunity to comment on all privacy implications of proposed legislation or new government programs. And we take that role very seriously. We are actively in there working with government. And we also have a large mandate to educate the public. And we spend a lot of time doing that because these days, as you know, with more and more online breaches and intrusions into your privacy, we have to educate the public on how to protect your own information and be wary of just giving information out loosely and freely.
So would you look at every bill before it becomes law?
Everyone that has privacy implications, yes.
Okay. And if you see something and you told the government minister of the day, you know what, I'm concerned about that, are they obliged to remove the offending passage?
I won't say they're obliged, but they always work with us, because the government actually, instead of us going to them, they often approach us when they're drafting legislation. They say, we have these sections that have privacy implications, and they consult with us, and we work together to craft what is the most privacy protective provisions.
Okay, let's take one of the, I guess, best examples that's out there right now, these enhanced driver's licenses.
Yes.
We're going to talk a bit about this. And to that end, let's put up a couple of facts here about this. As of June 1st, 2009, I think most people have heard that all Canadian citizens entering the United States are required to have a passport or other approved secure document such as an EDL, Enhanced Driver's License. The driver's license was developed in consultation with U.S. officials as a passport alternative when entering the U.S. by land or water. It is voluntary. You don't have to get it, but it does cost $40 on top of the regular $75 fee for a driver's license. So that's the background. Tell us how it actually works.
When you apply for a driver's license, if you regularly cross the border into the United States, it makes sense that you can have, instead of having to get a passport, a separate document, your driver's license can serve as the instrument that will get you into the United States. It's a cross-border document. So how do you do that? It has to have citizenship information on it. Right now, our driver's licenses don't have citizenship. So the enhanced driver's license has citizenship information. All well and good. It had to meet one other requirement set by Department of Homeland Security in the United States. It has to have a radio frequency identifier, a chip, on the card which emits radio frequencies which impart information at a small distance. The theory being, as you're approaching the border crossing officials could access your documents at 20 feet and 20 meters away, and then by the time you approach them, they'll be all ready with your material. And
does that really work?
Well, it's just started as of June 1. The theory, that's the theory. Right. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of controversy associated with the radio frequency identifier. Let me tell you the privacy concerns. The radio frequency identifier, the chip, discloses its information to whatever readers are in the vicinity. So not only will it be picked up by readers, authorized readers and the US border crossing officials, but anyone who buys a reader on eBay, you can get an unauthorized reader and get the airwaves, get the radio frequencies that are emitted into the airwaves.
Not good, I assume.
Not good, not good. So we said to the government, and we always work cooperatively with the government, we need a solution for this. And they said, because this is what the United States is offering as a solution, there's a protective sleeve. If you put the driver's license into the protective sleeve, then more or less, I say more or less because there's some dispute about how safely they protect the information will be protected. The reason I say more or less is the reality is, when you put it into the sleeve and then try to put it into the slots in your wallet, it doesn't work very well. So over time, people abandon the use of the sleeve. Forget it, it doesn't work because most of the time, this is used as a driver's license. People are driving around the province using it for ID and for other purposes. Most of the time, they're not crossing the border. So the reality is, you need the RFID, ideally, to be turned off when it's used within the province for driver's license driving purposes, and only turned on when you're actually crossing the border.
The person can't do that, I assume, right?
The person can't do that. So I went to our government and I said, Premier, I'd like to be able to turn it off. And the Premier is a very reasonable man, and he said, well, Ann, go see if you can find someone who can do that. In the meantime, we couldn't do it for June 1. So I encourage anyone who has it, please use the protective sleeve. It's the best protection you have right now.
Okay, here's the question though, protection against what? What kind of information is on there that maybe you don't want out?
There's a unique, it is encrypted, but there's a unique identifier. The unique identifier is like a personal signature for you. Imagine your social insurance number. It's just a number, but it's uniquely associated with you. So theoretically, people could track your activities, your movements, because if they know this is you and you're here, they can track your movements, your purchases, other things. The point is, it can be used as a tracking device. You don't want that. So we want to protect the information. So I went all over the world. I talked to my tech friends and I said, who is doing this? I want to be able to turn it off. Is there like an on-off switch for an RFID? No, there isn't. But there are a couple of companies that are just doing some initial research. I've approached them. There's one in the UK. There's a very good company called Impinj in the US, in Vermont. And we approached them, actually, sorry, they're in Washington State, and they have worked with us to really develop this technology, and it's beautiful. It's not a mechanical device. It's if you hold the card at a particular point, it turns the antenna on.
So it can't be read.
It turns it on. The default is it's off. And that's the beauty. You want privacy to be the default in all technology. It's off unless you press it here as you're approaching the border, and then it turns on. Isn't that beautiful? So we're just developing the prototype. I was just in Washington, D.C. I talked to Homeland Security. They're interested. Stay tuned.
Now, wasn't Saskatchewan involved in something like this, and didn't they suspend their program because they were not satisfied with the privacy problems associated?
They suspended their program. I actually think that the cost was prohibitive for them, and they also had privacy concerns as well. But I believe that the main reason was the cost implications were significant.
Other jurisdictions have tried this. Is it coming together satisfactorily from what you can tell?
BC is trying it. We're trying it. Quebec. June 1 was the date that it all started, so it's only been in place a few weeks. Right. So you have to stay tuned. But what I'm urging people who have the enhanced driver's license, please, until we get this on-off device, use the protective sleeve, because you don't want to be able to have unauthorized readers picking up this information. You have to be so leery of technology in terms of what I call data leakage. Who's it spilling its guts to? And it's telling everybody this information contained on it unless you protect it.
Okay, let's spend our remaining time here talking about trying to maintain privacy in a Facebook age.
Yes.
I think probably our generation starts from a premise that we feel an entitlement to privacy, and that privacy in and of itself is a good thing. But there are people who are, you know, the next generation up, they are living their lives on Facebook. They are putting their whole lives out there, their pictures, private information. They're giving it up voluntarily. Do you think the next generation coming up cares about privacy as much as previous ones do?
I think they do care about privacy, but it's different. It's different in that they've been raised in an online world. Everything is online. So it's not that they don't care about privacy. You talk to teenagers and they care about who knows what, but they don't think it through. So in the online world, they're putting this information out there and they think, oh, it's just their friends, the people that it's intended to, they're the only ones getting it. So what I do a lot of educating. I go to high schools and universities, I talk to kids, and I explain that anything you put out there is out there. You cannot categorically restrict the information to one or two people.
Like, do they know that prospective employers are going to be looking at these Facebook pages of theirs?
Oh, I'm glad you raised that. 77% of all prospective employers access people's profiles on Facebook and other online social networks, and a third of them reject them before an interview just based on the information they access online.
Because what are they seeing on Facebook?
Well, you can imagine the pictures, the drunken parties, you can imagine the kinds of things. And kids are thinking, oh, this is only going to my friends. Not so. Think before you click. You've got to think before you post information. So a lot of it, the work that I do relating to this, first of all, we call it privacy by design, trying to embed privacy solutions into technology so that privacy becomes the default. With kids, it's educating them about what not to put out there. But we've worked with Facebook.
You actually met with Facebook people,
yes. Facebook approached us about 4 or 5 years ago, and they said, look, we've got some privacy settings. Tell us what you think. We asked them to strengthen them. They did. So we've been working with them for the past number of years. We have brochures that we put out with them. We have a DVD you can get from us. Facebook, how to protect your privacy on Facebook and take control of your information.
That presupposes young people care about this. I'm not, you know, and again, if you've looked at this, is there a difference between how young men and young women regard their privacy on Facebook?
So true, so true. The first thing I did was I convened a focus group to see what do kids think about. Do they really like Facebook? This is going back 4 years. Now it's much more popular. And everybody loved Facebook, especially compared to the other social networks. But to a person, they were clueless about the privacy protective measures that they could engage in. So I spent 2 hours with them, tell them why they should care about their privacy. I never tell them what to do other than go and set your privacy settings. You decide. Privacy is about your choice, but it's got to be your choice. And at the end, I said, so how many of you are going to go and do this? All the girls put their hands up. We're going to go set our privacy settings. The guys, not so much.
They don't care.
So girls care more. Girls are sensible, right? No comment. But I encourage girls and boys, of course, everybody, to think about who is accessing your information. Think about teachers, prospective professors, prospective employers. The police now are increasingly using Facebook as a tool with which to detect criminal activity. So think about what you post. And this is the new world. Everything is online. We all want to be connected. I get that. But privacy is absolutely fundamental to the choices you make. So make sure you're the one making the decisions, not somebody else.
Let me ask you one last thing, and that is, of course, we're many years past 1984. But for those of us who studied that book and feared that was what the future looked like, can you tell us, based on your experience, you've been the Chief Commissioner for 10 years, you just got reappointed for another 5. In your view, does it look like the government wants more information about us as a general rule than they should have?
I would argue that it's not black and white. The government has always wanted information about you. There are technologies now that make it more accessible, perhaps easier for the government to access information about you. But I would also suggest it's not just the government. Private sector increasingly has the technology with which to gain a great deal of information about you. But I also have to add, because I'm the eternal optimist, that what comes hand in hand with that are protections for that information. A quick example, video surveillance cameras are the primary tool of surveillance. So people think, oh my God, CCTV cameras, they're everywhere, we have no privacy. There's a lot of truth to that. However, the new technologies, U of T, researchers at U of T have developed the most amazing technology called secure visual object coding. You implant into cameras, and when the cameras are equipped with this technology, if you have a camera on me, you would get the background and you would just get a silhouette, that there's an individual in the script, in the scheme, but you don't know who that person is. And you have to go to great lengths to decode that information. So what I'm saying is, it's like point counterpoint. Yes, there are more technologies of surveillance, but there are also more technologies of privacy that can be wedded to that technology in a way that delivers privacy and security. I call that positive sum, not zero sum. And that's what we need. You're not going to get rid of the cameras, in my view. But what you can have are cameras that have privacy built in. That, to me, is the best of all worlds, privacy and security, positive sum.
Fascinating. Ann Cavoukian, it's good of you to visit us at TVO tonight. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.